No.
Hello.
Just wanted to double check if everyone can see the screen now. Yeah?
Yep, we got it.
Thank you.
Dylan, whenever you're ready.
Imagine it's 2040. There are a lot of electrical vehicles around, but also a lot of problems like these. And we really, really want a world that moves to renewable energy. But there's also another problem, because renewable energy sources are intermittent. The grid cannot always absorb the energy and can simply collapse. But what if some of these many electrical vehicles didn't just take power, but also gave you power instead? A V2G is basically an electric car that can communicate with its electric grid and supply energy back to it, either through remitting electricity stored in the vehicle or by decreasing its charge rate. Now, these temporary storage sites can be effectively producers when demand rises. And this is a new technology that has been proven, but companies are investing heavily in it. Companies like these. And V2Gs are estimated to produce about 8 gigawatts of energy in 2040. So why not use them to power our cities? Now, this is possible everywhere, but it's especially important in countries with a capacity for renewable energy, but a very limited ability to distribute it. And here we're referring to countries like South Africa and India. And we're going to focus on this genre of countries for the remainder of our presentation. Technology from Chargepoint can actually help these countries grow their renewable energy potential and can in fact even provide the necessary infrastructure to fill in the gaps. So our unique approach is really as follows. Since the increase in electrical vehicles is going to increase the load on the power grid, we will reduce this load by making storage possible through V2Gs. When demand rises, our V2Gs will supplement the grid and release electricity back to it. For example, if an electric train passes by and needs to borrow a little bit. Since distribution is an issue, we're going to price our charging stations according to the demand there is at the moment, taking from charging data. So for instance, if there are a lot of people charging in one particular region and that grid is overloaded, the electricity there is going to be a lot more expensive compared to a place where it's cheaper, where there are less people. And this is adaptive pricing.
Our goal is to create a user-friendly app. This essentially will help us become in charge of our personal and intercity energy distributions. This app will serve as our main form of collecting generalized and personalized behavioral data. The uniqueness of this app lies in the fact that the data and model is ever being updated through an intensive mathematical model. This will also be created using an ever dynamic positive feedback loop system.
So there are many functionalities to our app, including that Chargepoint collects data from the different charge points all around the areas that it's located. And this data is provided to the users by providing them with detailed maps regarding the different charge points that are around them and the capacity of each charge point so that they don't waste their time going to charge points that may be empty. There's also a smart route function, which is an algorithm that can provide the user with an efficient route from one location to another, taking into consideration the charge that they have on their car, so that they can do what they need to do to get an efficient route. And lastly, there are personalized alerts which are taken from the database, collected from the Chargepoint databases regarding where the person is and different charge points at different times, telling them whether a charge point is cheaper or available. Where we can attract clients by basically providing discounts for drivers, so that once they collect a certain amount of points, they're able to then spend it and use it in the businesses that we are linked with. And this means that businesses can have an improved business as more people are coming to their places to charge their vehicles. And when they're there, they're able to stay. When they're there, they're able to spend more time there and then spend more money at these locations. And the data that we collect, we want to be able to share it with different businesses so that they can see the impacts that having a charge point will have on their business as a whole.
Following the pattern discussed above, we are safeguarding the interest of all our stakeholders while keeping Chargepoint profitable. For example, look at the business. You discover that they can increase customer traffic and have access to necessary data to improve their business. So, in summary, we change the world by creating a sustainable circle which makes renewable energy viable, develops an interconnected ecosystem of electric vehicle, and increases outreach to businesses and customers. Right now, we encourage companies to invest in vehicle-to-grid and partner with Chargepoint for a sustainable cycle. As in charge, we have fulfilled all the aims on the screen. Now, all that is left for you is to take charge, and together we can positively recharge the world. Thank you.
Great. So did you create a model of how sort of a cost structure of how much money you could make back on selling the excess capacity in the battery, and what the cost of that would be to to the relevant parties that you're selling the energy to? Like you had mentioned, you know, if a train is passing by or something like that, and you're selling that.
So when the train, let's say for example, when the train passes by, we're going to look at the electricity that's relevant at the moment. So if the electricity rate is, for example, X, then we'll take it from there and we'll calculate the price via the charge point and see how much we can refund the individual. But and yeah, so that's how we basically do it. It's relevant to the location.
Okay. And then do you have considerations on how the drivers would opt in to this sort of program and how they would get the benefits back? I mean, did you figure out a model for how much benefit that might be based upon cost of electricity and various things?
So basically, we're quite excited by this. So when the drivers, essentially, we want to keep incentivizing them. So when they use their charging app, when they have these remittances, when we give them the discounts, we believe that that's going to be sort of an incentive to them. But I believe the question here is how much, if I'm not wrong. So that question is fundamentally analyzed when we look with the businesses. So for example, if we sign contracts with businesses and we say that, okay, in this particular region that comes under this grid, this business is going to give 10% off for people who have hit, let's say, this number of points of remittance. So that's something that we want to discuss with the businesses in the local region so that we can pass it back on to the drivers. And I'm not sure if anybody else has something to add about the app as well.
In terms of the app, we had the idea that we could also have a credit sort of system. So depending on the amount of money that amount of electricity you use to charge a vehicle and the amount that you've given away to the smart city, the difference would be, if it's a negative difference, would be in credit. If it was a positive difference, you'd pay the difference.
So that's similar to like the solar model, where the amount that you're selling back to the grid, if you're over generating, you get a benefit from that. Okay.
So can you talk a bit more about how you're planning to approach businesses and what kinds of offers you would be trying to negotiate with local businesses?
So I'll start here. So when we're talking about businesses, we realize that it's a cycle. So as we get more and more involved into this, we realize that it's probably going to, our modus operandi is going to be shifting as we get more and more relevant. So when we're talking about businesses, we think that they're going to be encouraged by the data. And when we come to them, we're going to tell them, hey, we can get you this data. You know, this can lead to certain results that can be beneficial for you as well. Having a charge point with you could open this range of benefits. So that's one of the ways that we want to talk to businesses. Another thing is that when we have two types of businesses, essentially. One of them is the one that sponsors the charge points, and that's the one that I just talked about. And the other type of business is the one that benefits from the discounts. So in our research, we find that a lot of these businesses, even if they don't directly buy into the charge point, but still discount the drivers that participate in the charge point, they also can benefit. And 1 minute I'll save for somebody who has something to add on this.
I also wanted to add as well, in terms of businesses, I think this would be really good for small businesses as well, because it's a thing of, just like petrol stations in general, like when not everyone goes to the petrol station to like to get petrol, just like how if a charge point is located in a certain area, even if they do go and charge there thing there, they will probably go into the shops and buy other things as well. And it's like, this is kind of helping like local businesses as well, especially like smaller ones. And also in a sense that even though they're, so Chargepoint, they buy a Chargepoint thing, so Chargepoint benefit from their purchase, but then they also kind of benefit a little bit from people coming into it as well.
Is there a reason that you chose like developing markets like South Africa or India versus other markets?
Yes, so the reason for that is, number one, we realized that with V2G, a big thing here is the distribution, and we really want to focus on that grid. And the other thing is that we recognize that it's a little bit of a waste when we have countries which have really quite a lot of opportunity for renewable energy, but just because of this distribution problem, we can't focus there. So we want to sort of expand Chargepoint to those countries as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Team in Charge.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Admitting the next team. Guess
Yeah.
there's one person.
Sorry, my Zoom froze in between, so I hope you the presentation went smooth. You didn't have any slide issues. Cool.
Dylan and Nikhil, you can go ahead and share your screen whenever you're ready.
All right. Give me 1 second.